Good evening, guys. Welcome to our session in here for today. I hope all of you guys are able to hear my voice clearly and my screen is also visible, right, guys? A very warm welcome to all of you guys for the session over here for today. I'm sharing the link with all of you guys, and this is the link of the document which we were discussing yesterday. Yesterday we have been through a very important portion. We have been through a very important algorithm over here. And what I want you guys to kind of understand is that it is very important for all of you guys on an individual level to understand that uh, GANs or generative adversarial neural networks, which has a discriminator, generator, discriminator, and then there is the like generator is generating the data, discriminator is trying its level best to bifurcate between or differentiate between actual data and what you can say fake data, right? So this is what we did yesterday, and after that we started moving ahead with prompt engineering, right? So this is prompt engineering coursework, advanced prompt engineering techniques. And in prompt engineering, what is a prompt? Prompt, in very simple words, is the way with which you guys are trying to, what you guys can say, interact with the LLM models. Or the best example is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is an LLM model, right? So what happens is that on ChatGPT, depending on what you write, you get the final output. Okay. Now my point over here is that if you guys know how to write the prompts, every like the same question being asked but with different effective ways, it will lead to different answers. Okay. So there is a total field, right, which has been evolved right now because of the advent of LLM models and chat GPT, which is prompt engineering. So the way in which you write that message is the prompt. So people call that as a prompt. So the way in which you interact with those prompts, that is basically called as prompt engineering. So there are a lot of things, there are a lot of ways over here that you need to kind of take into consideration over here. Okay. Now, after this is done, after you are clear with this, after this is done, the next part over here with which you guys are expected to move ahead with, it is revolving around the fact that what is AI prompt engineering? It is a specific area of AI which focuses on developing and improving prompts, right? Which enable efficient communication with AI models and in more specific words, it's LLM models. So what basically happens over here is that what you are basically expected to do is that you have to understand the technique behind writing or the way behind writing these portions such that you are expected to get an idea about this particular portion. Right? Is this clear, guys? So that science is prompt engineering, which we already discussed yesterday. Right? Now, after this is done, the next part over here is that what is this AI prompt engineering? This is the part. So you get the data from the databases and other sources. You enter that data into the prompt recipe, even into the workflows. There are different prompt libraries. Like there is an OpenAI library which we will be using. And after that, you have different methodologies. You have prompting, which is writing that prompt, which results into this prompt. And that prompt helps us to get the required data generated from the generative AI models. Right. So this is that visual, that this is that one shot visual which can help you to get an idea that how you can create those prompts over here. Right? Is it clear, guys? Everybody, are you clear with what I'm trying to mentor you guys or what I'm trying to say? So now after this is done, right, the next important part that you guys are kind of expected to understand, it is basically revolving around a portion that you need to also pay attention to this one particular part, that this is what it is being used into. So it has connection, it is basically the connection that is happening between humans and a large language model, right? So it is kind of your responsibility to like get an idea about this section, get an idea about this part. Now, after this is done, the next important thing, right, that is kind of available over here, it is revolving around the fact that how important it is to learn this particular thing, or how important it is to learn this particular field. Why? Because in generative AI, what is basically happening over here is that you have to like model is capable. Okay, like everybody is using the same model. It's up to you that how efficiently you can get your work done from that generative model. Are you getting my point, guys? So that's the most important part about this particular portion, right? Now, after this is done, let us try to move ahead with the next part over here. So the next part over here that I want all of you guys to understand, it kind of revolves around the fact that it improves the model performance, right? I mean, it's not about model performance, it's about your base. So if you are able to get the required output, you would say that model is really good, right? So that is what it is all about, right? So basically what you can get is that you can make sure that the AI model is understanding the context, right? That's what it is all about. Then customizing the outputs. So depending on your needs, if you change the input prompt, you will obviously be able to change the output that is coming out of it, right? So that is the next thing that you need to kind of understand over here. Correct, guys? Everybody, are you clear with this? Next is reducing bias, which basically means thoughtful prompt design can help you to mitigate the bias in AI outputs by carefully framing the questions that are available over here. Correct, everybody, guys? So what happens is that it can reduce the bias error that is present in the output of the model. And obviously, that will definitely help you in getting an idea about more important part, right? Now, after that is done, last point is very obvious. If you are able to get your work done from the AI, you will feel that it's good and it will enhance your own experience. So the thing is very simple, that it's not that whether the model is working very well or not. It's more about whether you are able to extract the required results from the model, right? It is about that. 30 seconds on this, everybody, guys. Let me know, read it. Let me know if I can help you with anything, and then we will move ahead with the next part. Now, after this is done, the next part over here is what happens in AI prompt engineering, right? That is the next big thing that you need to discuss. So the first important thing that a prompt engineer needs to know is about the design of the prompt, which is the text that you will basically pass to the LLM model, right? So it entails creation, just 1 minute. Yeah. So what I was saying is that prompt engineers are basically responsible for the design and creation of the prompt. And it's not that whatever prompt you write, it will do the work. It will do the work, but the quality of the work that needs to that needs to be done, it depends on the quality of the prompt that is being passed over here, right? So that is one of the most important things over here. So how you use the grammar, how you use the syntax, how you use the domain, how detailed you are in your workflow and everything. These things will definitely help you to kind of get an idea, kind of get an overview about the topic, right? Now, after this is done, let us try to move ahead with the next part over here, which is prompt optimization. So I'm sure that all of you guys who are present over here, I am 100% sure that all of you guys can write something and get the work being done. Okay, so there is no science behind that. But the level at which it is done at a professional level, it's totally different. It's not that you just write random text and the work gets done. So you have to optimize your prompt or you have to optimize the text that you have written. And for that, you need to understand that how the ML models that are present over here, they are getting the work done, right? So the most important part is that you should know how the model is working. And once you know that how the model is working, I think only then it would be possible for you to move ahead with creation of the prompts, since you know already how the model is working and then moving ahead with it. So that's about the second point, which is prompt optimization. Now, after this is done, the next part over here with which you guys are kind of expected to move ahead with, it is revolving around a part or it is revolving around a portion of evaluation and testing. So accessing the effectiveness of the model, right? It's very important. So prompt engineers, they evaluate how well the prompts are aligned with the desired documents or the desired output that is expected out of that generative AI or LLM model, right? And then depending on that, we are kind of moving ahead with the next part. Correct. Now, after this is done, domain adaptation is something which we will also cover up later in more detail. But domain adaptation means that, see, orange can mean a fruit, orange can mean a color. Okay, so technically it can mean both of these two things. Okay, it's not like that. But the point is that it's your responsibility to make sure that you are understanding about it, right? Are you getting my point, guys? What I'm trying to say, it's kind of your responsibility to get an idea or get an overview about this point. Now, after this is done, let us try to move ahead with the next part over here, which is collaborative work. So when you would be working in industry on a particular project, on a particular task, on a particular activity, I am 100% sure that you guys would be definitely doing your work on some collaborative part. Right? Definitely, I'm sure about this. So data scientists, ML engineers, product managers, domain experts, they are just some of your stakeholders. And what happens is that you, to make sure that whatever work you have done, it meets all the project objectives, you can even check the quality of the document in the project, right? Project work that is being done from that LLM models. And the last is ethical consideration, which obviously means that generative AI, the amount of good that it can do to human society, it is almost equal to the amount of bad that it can do, right? So you have to make sure that the use of that AI that is being done, it is used for ethical considerations which are socially acceptable, right? And there is no loss of data, no theft of data or anything like that. Right. And last is reporting and documentation. So I use that in a lot of places for reporting and documentation. LLM models can help you to generate the required part pretty easy. Take your time, guys. Take 2 minutes for this. Read it. Now, after this is done, what is basically happening over here is that you should understand, right, the techniques that are included in prompt engineering, out of which contextual prompts is the first thing. In the live coding also, we will do contextual prompts. So instead of asking random questions, right, you should specify the context in which you are asking questions, right? So you can say neuron. So is it a neuron or artificial neural network, or is it the neuron of the human brain? If you have friends in medical industry, they would mean the neuron in a human brain, right? So you have to give the context to the prompt in the prompt that you're giving, so that a more finer, a more meaningful analysis can be kind of completed over here. Correct? After this particular portion is done, everybody guys, the next part that I want all of you guys to understand over here, it is revolving around the fact that you need to understand specificity. So tell me about AI. This is not specific prompt. Tell me about use of AI in healthcare. It's relatively more specific. Tell me about the impact of AI on healthcare in diabetes management. That's still more specific. So the specific points that you include over here, they definitely have a huge impact, right? They definitely have a huge impact on the work that you are kind of planning to complete. Now, after this is done, right? Any questions or any doubts that you guys are having in your mind? Contextual prompts, you understood that you have to specify the adequate context that is present over here. Second point that you need to kind of understand over here is that you need to understand the specificity that is available over here. And then depending on that, we need to move ahead with the next part. Correct? Now, after this is done, the third part is iterative refinement. It means that in the first go itself, if you feel that, okay, I would be doing, or I would be able to get the prompts correct, it's not like that. Gradually, you refine and gradually you increase the quality of the prompts with which you're working. Okay, so it's a very gradual thing. Please understand this part. Now, after this is done, the next part is prompt templates, which means that using prompt templates allows for consistent and better systematic prompt creation. So, like for creating resumes, all of you guys must be using this particular part, right? Resume template. Similarly, there are templates of the prompts as well, that you need to kind of take into consideration. Okay. Now, after that is done, assuming you have read it, let's try to move ahead with the last part. Obviously, experimentation is there. So there are open-ended prompts which give more detailed responses and closed-ended prompts which require very specific answers. So if you want to give a general context about thing, like I am teaching you engineering. So I just want a context which is very general. Okay, very general. So I would say open-ended prompts. Close-ended prompts would I'd ask that I have this problem in prompt engineering. So what should I exactly write over here? So that's basically something which is coming under close-ended prompts, right? Now, after this is done, the next part over here is the best practices in which you are expected to familiarize yourself with the capabilities and limitations of AI, for which I told you that you should know how an AI model is working, because only then you would be in a position to, what you can say, get a better idea about the part. Keep prompts clear and concise, which means that clear and concise prompts will make the life of AI or the work of AI easier, right? Next is that you have to use examples, right? The more examples, like this is a sample problem that I have solved. Now there is a new problem which I want to solve in an exactly similar way. So this is basically something which I feel can be solved in a better way. Okay. And the next part over here is use examples, which basically means that providing examples within prompts can help the AI models to grasp the unexpected format and style of responses, right? And avoid ambiguity, right? Make sure that you don't leave any room for misinterpretation. Like I gave the example of orange fruit and orange color. Be very specific, avoid ambiguous words, keep the prompts clear and concise, and try to practice writing prompts over here. 30 seconds on this, guys. Now, after this is done, the next part over here I can send the document, Vasu, no problem. So here is the document link, right? So understand the AI model, keep it clear and concise, test and iterate, which I have already told you. And these are the specific skills, and I hope you have been through this part, guys. So language proficiency, whatever language you're using, right? It's not that ChatGPT is just available in English, it's available in many languages. But whatever language you're using, you have to be grammatically correct, you have to be syntactically correct, because the quality of the text that you are using, it plays a very big impact. Because I can understand that you have made this grammatical mistake, but my answer to your question would be still same. But in LLMs, what is happening is that this is not the same, or this is not the situation. In LLMs or in large language models or in chat GPT, there the quality of their reply is differing depending on the quality of your input, right? So if you ask me any question right now, and let's say you are grammatically not correct, I'm totally fine with it. I can still give you the correct answer. But that's not the case with LLMs. Okay. Now, after this is done, there is critical thinking and creative thinking both. So the more creativity you show in writing prompts, you will realize this later, the better quality of answers you guys can expect. Next is data analysis and interpretation. So obviously you have to take the data, analyze it, right, in the timely manner, and you can make decisions on based on that. So the more minute queries you give, the better it would be for all of you guys. Now, after this is done, the next part over here is technical knowledge. So whatever prompt you are going to write, okay, in that you should have the knowledge, right? So let's say you are going to ask about a SQL query. You should know how that portion is working to interpret it. So the understanding of data structures, ML, NLP, computer science, all of these things are definitely going to play a pivotal role in deriving the output from the LLM model. Continuous learning is very simple, that you have to be like, you need to have that thing that keeps you updated. Collaboration and communication needs that prompt engineers need strong communication and project management skills to work with various teams, and they should have the understanding about the technical concepts of the stakeholders that are there. When you would be working in corporate industry at that particular point of time, what basically happens is that you need to get an understanding about this one particular point, that you need to collaborate with people, and that to people who are coming from really different backgrounds, really different technical backgrounds. Correct? Attention to detail is obviously there. So the query that you are writing, it has to be detailed, right? Just for reading, it's just for reading. Take your time to go through this and let me know if you guys are having any questions or doubts, everybody is. Now, after this is done, let's try to move ahead with the industry trends that there is an increasing adoption of conversational AI, and AI prompt engineers can play like a very vital role in that. So whatever, so let's say you made an order on Zomato, Swiggy, Amazon, Flipkart, you had an issue, right? Nowadays, you don't get to talk with the customer care executive directly. You have to go through a series of things, after which that conversational AI or that chatbot, if not able to resolve your issue, will direct you to the customer care executive. So what has happened is that they are reducing the burden on the shoulders of the actual human beings, and what they are doing is that they are trying their level best to make sure that this is not being repeated. So the main idea is that if there is a genuine concern and if AI is able to, like, they want to cut short that population, there is a genuine concern, okay, and there is a chance that AI chatbot is able to cure that up, right? So they want to make sure that this is basically something that gets kind of sorted over here. Okay, is this clear, guys? Everybody, to all of you? Now, after this is done, let us try to move ahead with the next part over here. And that next part is kind of revolving around the fact of getting personalized experiences. So let's say that you are a lawyer and you have so many different customers, so many different clients over here, right? So what will you do? Okay, what will you do if you have so many customers? You will have to personalize their drafts. You will have to personalize their legal notices and whatnot. So in that particular situation, this is basically something that will come in handy. And then there is advancements in language models, which means that the development of large language models like GPT will help you to get the new opportunities in the field of AI prompt engineering. So people feel that now with the advent of ChatGPT, with the advent of this thing, with the advent of that thing, jobs will go. No, with the help of prompt engineering, large language models, earlier, if one person was able to handle one project in IT, which we now that one person is able to handle 3 to 4 projects. So it has increased the productivity like anything. Are you getting my point, guys? What I'm trying to say? It has increased the productivity like anything. So take your time for this and let me know if I can help you with anything, guys. So read second and third point, guys, and then we will kind of try to move ahead with the next part. Now, after this is done, the next is that you have to integrate Chat GPT or like whenever I use the word Chat GPT, it's for LLM models. Okay, I'm using that word so that you can familiarize yourself quickly, right? Now, what is happening is read this fourth and fifth point, guys. Now, after this is done, what have you read over here that if ChatGPT, AI prompt engineering, and all of these things are being taken into consideration, then those things can definitely be expected to be integrated with a lot of other tools. Like today, what we would be doing is that we would be trying to integrate Open AI with Python, right? So as I told you that there is a library that is present over here named OpenAI in Python. So the application that you are going to use, it should be integrable with ChatGPT. It's other way around also, that you have to make sure that whatever are the top tools or technologies that are being used by people all around the world, whether it is in content creation, whether it is in coding or whatever it is, it's your responsibility to make sure that this is being completed over here, right? Now, after this is done, as I told you even yesterday, that there is something called as software as a service, right? That SaaS, it's a very famous concept. Then there is data as a service, there is algorithm as a service, there is checks as a service, right? So these basically are some of the things that you kind of need to take into consideration, right? Take your time for this, guys. Now, after this is done, the next part over here is applications of AI prompt engineering. So AI prompt engineering has a wide range of applications, like customer support is something which is one of the most important thing we just discussed about the fact that if you are using any tool like Zomato, Uber, or whatever it is, first, if you face a problem, you have to interact nowadays with a chatbot. And then their aim is that if that issue gets resolved over there itself, that's really good. Otherwise, let's try to move ahead with some other aspect or with some other part. Okay. So the first things first, you have to interact with ChatGPT nowadays. Next is there are virtual assistants, right? Google, Alexa, right? Next is content creation, which I always use. So as a mentor, I have to create a lot of content. I have to create the Word document blogs. I have to read. So for that, I need to do a lot of reading. With the help of ChatGPT, what has happened is that my workload has decreased. It's not that just merely go out there in chatbot and just copy paste it. You have to read that as well. But I have personally observed that the content ChatGPT gives, it's more aligned to what I'm kind of planning to do over there. Okay. Next is social media content. So obviously, AI utilizes the prompt to cast the messages, right? So let's say that there are social media account managers for celebrities. So it's not that they are doing the things on their own. Okay, they are basically kind of using ChatGPT and some LLM models nowadays to have a fine crafted content, right? Captions for photos and everything. Just have a look at what I have written over here. It will really help you to get the idea. Whatever content I have given to you guys, it's definitely fruitful in that perspective. Try to have that content creation into portion, and believe me, content creation is one of the most remarkable topics in which ChatGPT has done good work. 30 seconds, guys, on this, everybody. Now, after this is done, the next part over here is that in education industry, let's say that you are, so I am not aware of Java. I have never coded with Java in my entire career up till this moment. Okay. Let's say that I'm learning Java, or I'm getting myself updated with Java. Okay, let's say that this is a situation. Now, what I want you guys to kind of understand is that it's not a very simple task to learn a new programming language. Okay, it's definitely not that simple. So in that particular situation, what I want you guys to kind of understand is that you can use ChatGPT in that perspective as well. Are you getting my point, guys? What I'm trying to say, you can definitely use ChatGPT over there. Now, after this section, after this portion is completed, let's try to move ahead with the next block or the next part. So now after this particular section is done, the next part that I want all of you guys to kind of take into consideration, it's basically revolving around the fact that you should understand that how and when these things are going to make a difference, right? So that's the most important thing that you need to kind of take into consideration. So take 30 seconds for this. Let me know if I can help you with anything, guys. And now after that is done, the next part is healthcare industry. So let us say that you generative AI chat GPT can help the doctors as well to quickly diagnose the part, right? So I'm not saying that it will replace the work of a doctor, definitely not. But what I'm saying is that it will definitely help in getting an idea or definitely help in getting an overview about the topic for sure. Okay. Now, after this is done, right, let us try to move ahead with the next part. Diagnosis, treatment, you can read about it, research and development. So let's say that you want to do a research on maybe printed circuit board. It can help you in creating new materials for printed circuit boards. Every few quarters nowadays, new mobiles are coming which are basically using new technologies, right? So ChatGPT can definitely help you, not do the research for you, help you in your research, right? So this is basically something which I wanted you to understand. Now, after this is done, provided you have read this, let's move ahead with the next part, which is 7 key parameters. And this is very important. So let's discuss it later. Let's take a break of 10 minutes, guys, and we will resume at 18:06. Okay, 10 minutes break, everybody. So guys, let us get started with the session now, right? It's almost the time 18:06. Let's get started. Now, seven key prompt engineering parameters. That's the next thing which we are expected to understand. So when you're doing prompt engineering, when you're sending prompts through the Python code, which even we would be sending, maybe not today because today we don't have that much bandwidth, but definitely in the next session. So there are seven parameters, and these seven parameters are kind of influencing the output that you would be getting, right? So in some output or in some prompts, you may be expected to give like a detailed part. In some prompts, you may be expected to give to the point answers. In some prompts, you may be expected to maybe you can say give some theoretical imagination or something like that. So let's try to get so that we can make the most out of the generative models. And the first is context window. So it is basically something which determines the amount of text that the model can take into account, right? While generating a response. So obviously, you can give that value if you want to the point answer. You can have a smaller context window value. If you give like a broader window, you can have a more generic answer, right? So it is you who can decide about this. So let's say you are saying 100 words. I want the output of this query in 100 words. The LLM models will try to frame their answer within 100 words, right? So you can control the length of the given context with this particular part, right? Now, after this is done, let us try to move ahead with the next part over here. By the way, any questions till this point? Context window, guys. So context window is basically something which is used to control the randomness of the model with which you are working. Okay. Now, after this is done, let us try to move ahead with the next part, which is max token. So this is used to control the maximum number of tokens that can be generated. Correct? Yes, I can share the document once more, no problem. So this is the document. So what is basically happening over here is that it defines the maximum number of tokens that can be generated in the response. So tokens is the individual unit of the text, no problem. And if the max token value is 50, it can generate maximum 50 tokens. And your task is to find the difference between context window and max tokens parameter. Find the difference between context window and max tokens parameter. Okay. Now, after this is done, the next part is temperature. Right? Might be feeling really different. Temperature is the name of the third parameter. So it is used to basically control the randomness of the output that is being generated. So higher is the value of this temperature, there is more randomness. Okay. And a lower temperature value is basically going to give you an idea about lower part, like lower randomness, lower creativity. So you can basically control the creativity of the model with the help of this part. Correct? Everybody, guys, are you clear with this? Now, after this is done, let us try to move ahead with the next part. Read about temperature, by the way, it's one of the really important things that you need to take into consideration. Now, after this is done, there is something which is called as top P. And this top P is also known as nucleus sampling, or it is also known as probabilistic sampling. So it is basically something which defines the cumulative probability distribution used for getting the generated response. So by setting the top P value, you can control the diversity of the output. Here you can control the randomness and diversity. Here you can just control the diversity. So if the P value, if there is a higher top P value, there are more choices, right, that you are basically getting, correct? While and more diverse responses. Whereas if you choose a low p value, you would get the limited choices, generating more focused responses. So if you remember yesterday, guys, I wrote a query. Please give me a query to get the salary of the second highest individual or something like that, if you remember. So I didn't specify any top P parameter or something like that. Hence, I got like 7, 8 options. Are you getting my point? There were 7 to 8 options to solve that problem. So if I would have given the prompt in such a way that I want to get the second highest salary without joins and which is having the best time complexity. And if I would have specified top P value as 0.1, 0.2, something like that, then I would have received lesser choices, lesser outputs, but whatever choices I would have received, they would be computationally optimal, right? So this is basically something that all of you guys are kind of expected to understand. 30 more seconds for this top P parameter. Everybody guys read it and do let me know if I can help you about anything, guys. Now let us try to move ahead with the next part over here, which is about the top n parameters over here. So in top n parameters, what is basically happening that you can get it is used for sampling in the next token, right? Similar to the top P1. But what is happening is that instead of the cumulative probability distribution, top M considers only the top n most likely tokens that are there in the each step. So if you set higher value for top n, such as 10, it allows 10 options for the next token to be considered, because if you choose a lesser value, it again produces focus responses. So both top P and top N parameter are used to get an idea or to control the diversity that you are getting. Correct, guys? So it is just that top P is taking cumulative probability distribution into consideration, whereas top N is basically taking the number of tokens, that number of options for next tokens, right? Now, after this is done, can you explain top P and top N with example? Yes, I can. So, see what happens is that both of these two parameters are, by the way, very simple, and there is another important question. Explain, just 1 minute, explain the difference between top P and top N parameter. Okay, now let's try to discuss it again, as there is a request by one of the learners. So see, both of these parameters are used to control the diversity, right? So let's say when the like let's say you wrote something on ChatGPT. ChatGPT is generating the text for you. So the first word comes, then the second word comes, then the third one comes. Like that, it is joining words one after another. Okay. So then if next token, like let's say there is first token and after that there is second token. So for second token, if you want to have the probability distributions, cumulative probability distribution, like all the possible values would be summed up to one, right? That's cumulative. So if you have a higher cumulative probability distribution, higher choices would be taken to complete the sentences. So let's say if you have a higher p-value, you may choose 10, what you can say, tokens. If you have lower, you may choose just 3. So depending on the cumulative distribution graph. But one thing is for sure, lower higher p-value means more choices, lower p-value will mean less choices. And exactly same thing happens, but it's not the cumulative probability distribution of the tokens, it's just the number. Directly that raw number, hard-coded number. So if you give a higher value for that number, better option is something that you can expect out of it. Right? Is it making sense, guys, to all of you? So take your time, go through this, and let me know if I can help you with anything, guys. Now, after this is done, let's try to have presence penalty as the next thing over here. So it is a parameter that is used to discourage the model, right, from mentioning certain words or phrases, right, in the generated text or in the generated response. So by having a higher penalty value, you can reduce the likelihood of some specific words that are included in the generated text. For example, let's say that there are certain religious words, there are certain ill words, there are some what you can say uh fighting words or something like that if you want to remove them. But if you don't want those words to be included to maintain the sanity of the document that you are going to present, in that case, this presence penalty parameter is something that you can use, and you can tell that in this particular portion, I don't want this particular thing to be included, right? Now, after this is done, the next part is frequency penalty. So let's say that you want to have a particular word, right? But you want to control the repetition of that word. So when I am giving lecture, if you get a transcript of that lecture, you will see that I'm using ChatGPT and LLM very frequently. Okay, very frequently. And let's say that you want to control that particular thing. So frequency penalty is something that you can have. So by setting higher frequency penalty value like 1.5, you can penalize the model for repeating some of the phrases to get more diverse and varied responses. And people are not feeling that the same thing is being repeated, right? Now let's try to move ahead with the next part over here. So you can see that there is a advanced mode over here, right? See, mode, chat, model, GPT 3.5 turbo, temperature, max length, stop sequences, stop P, frequency penalty, presence penalty. You can, in the chat GPT window itself, you can have all of these settings over here. Not right now, earlier it was available. Let's try to go over here, and here you can have an idea about this part, right? So basically, this is something that you need to go through. So you can upgrade. Right now, it's not available in the free version. In the paid version, that particular thing is kind of available, right? You can click on this particular part, but still that's not available. In the free version, it's not available. In the paid version, it's available, right? So now let us try to move ahead with the next portion over here, which is enhancing prompt engineering for better AI outputs. And let's try to understand the different level of prompts that we are kind of having. So what is basically happening over here is that there has to be a way through which you can enhance, like using all of these parameters, you can obviously enhance. Let's try to move ahead with the examples. So prompt engineering is a relatively new and evolving field. Right now, even on internet, you will not find a lot of content for this. Okay. So it is intersecting with artificial intelligence, computational linguistics, user experience, right? And so many different things or so many different options over here, right? Now, after this is done, the next part over here that I want all of you guys to kind of understand, it kind of revolves around that the main objective is to understand and leverage the integrate ways in which you can have different formulations and structure of prompts that can influence the AI system's output. Correct, guys? Is this clear? Is this making sense to all of you guys? 30 seconds, and then after this is done, we will try to see the deeper understanding about all of these things. So here there are parameters, temperature, max tokens, stop sequences, top probabilities or top p frequency penalty, everything. Here there is a prompt that has been given, and depending on that, we are getting the output. Right. So what we are going to do is that we are going to dive deeper into this discipline of prompt engineering and optimize the interaction with the AI systems, right? So among these is specificity, which is narrowing the operational space down to just relevant outputs for better precision and better clarity. And the next is that it also installs descriptive and employing clear syntax to the prompts, including punctuation, heading, and everything. So read this first paragraph, observe the diagram. The diagram is very important. It can definitely help you to get a good overview about the topics, everybody guys. Now, after this is done, the next part that I need to understand, right, it is basically revolving around the fact that you need to optimize the interaction. This part is done. Another key is that you can double down the instructions, repeating them, positioning them before or after, like the trial and error method that we have found, to make sure that the model is grasping the task that it is expected to do. So the sequence in which information is presented, including the order of instructions or few short examples or something like that, right? It is definitely going to have the significant impact on the output, remembering to the Mossell's recency bias. So the main point is that the reason why all of us are gathering over here is because of the fact that it's not that you will give whatever at this moment, maybe later on they optimize it, but at this moment the situation is not that you will give any kind of input and it will do the work. It's not like that. The better quality of prompt you give, the better quality of response you can expect. Now, after this is done, let us try to move ahead with the next part. So this is the next part in terms of model parameters. Temperature and top P, for instances, are very useful. So temperature controls the randomness. Okay, top P controls how many outputs can be there. So they can influence the creativity and diversity from the model predictions, right? Lower value can have more focused and deterministic responses, minimizing the hallucinations and unfounded information. Higher can have more diverse and exploratory outputs. Maximum token count that is available over here, it can influence both cost effectiveness and complexity, because the more tokens the AI model is generating, the more time it will take. That's why its cost effectiveness is taken into consideration. And complexity means that if you want to create a big sentence, it's definitely more computational. So cost effectiveness and complexity always go hand in hand, right? So these two blocks are very important. Take your time to go through this, guys. Now, after this is done, the next portion over here with which you guys are expected to move ahead with, it is revolving around the fact that let's try to get an idea about it. So what is basically happening is that there is few shot learning technique. There are many learning techniques for which we will do live coding also. There is chain of thought and many more. So few shot learning technique is basically something which is going to give you a series of similar examples, right? Let me tell you about this. Few shot is basically something which is going to give you a series of similar examples, right? Or similar responses. So where short is the prompt response pair that from which a model can learn. After that, in chain of thoughts, which is the another method, like there are 7 to 8 methods which we would be live coding also. The thing is that the prompting is having is moving in a strategic manner which is progressively guiding towards the correct answer building. in a step-by-step manner, in an iterative manner. So it's not that immediately you will get the output, it's that with good amount of time, right, you will receive that. So you take a minute for this, and when we would be doing live coding, definitely at that point of time, we would be moving ahead with it. So wherever there are complex and multi-stage tasks where you have to maintain the continuity and coherence, at that point of time, this chain of thoughts is useful. So few shot learning is like just immediately, quickly with some few shots or few prompts, you will get some output. And now after this is done, take a minute for now the next is that along with this particular portion or along with this particular information, they are using the other aspects or other tools as well over here. So the next part over here is that in the following list, in not in a particular order, obviously you will get interesting ways in which you can level up your prompt engineering techniques. Okay. So first is chain of agents like LangChain. You can see this LangChain. This is like a bold and underlined format where there is a concept of chains and agents. Chains, what is it? It is the concept that refers to series of modular components or even other chains that are doing some common use case tasks. And after this, a chain can be composed of prompt template, right? So this combination of chain along with prompt template allows to take the input, format it if needed, and pass the response correctly to the LLM model. So this is how this lang chain portion is basically good. So you can find the concepts of chains and agents, right? Chains refers to the serial components that are present over here. And these are the other options that are there. So what are agent chains and agents, they said, right? What are agents? It is a versatile component, right? That has access to a broad array of tools, correct? And they have the capacity to determine which tool is best used for the purpose. So it's like plan and execute approach. React, plan and execute approach. So the what is happening is that these agents are basically the brain. A plan and execute agents are there, and language models serve as the brain for this particular portion. So it follows a loop of planning, acting, observing, and even repeating. So what is basically happening that this chain and agents is having two things. First is chains, second is agents. In Python, there is a LangChain library which can help you to do that. Chains are series of modular components in the architecture that will do the basic level activities. Prompt template is basically a template which can be combined with chains so that it can take the user, okay, input from the user, sorry, modify it, format it as needed, and pass the response when and where needed. Correct? On the other hand, agents are basically the versatile components, right? LLM models are basically the brain of the agent. They have plan and execute agents with which there is a lot of operation that is involved: planning, acting, observing, and repeating, right? So take your time, go through this, and do let me know if you are having any questions or doubts on this. So after you are done with the reading for this, the next part over here is that there is something called as acting phase. Read it. So what is basically happening in this acting phase? It prompts this chains and agent, right? They prompt the LLM models to generate domain specific actions to interact with the part, correct? Now, what is basically happening over here is that let's say that, as I told you, that example of a neuron in a human brain and neuron in a neural network. So this in this acting phase, what happens is that these chains and agents, they are asking to get the specific actions. React incorporates the observation or the feedback into the context, right? And it allows the language model to track the state of the environment, what is there, whether they are reactive to the decision. So let's say that there is some output that the chatbot has given. You will react to that output. So your reaction would be taken into account so that you track the state of the environment and make reactive decisions, right? So this view loop is repeating again and again up till and unless you guys are kind of able to get the required task or activities done. Okay. Next part over here that we need to kind of understand, it's about this. If you observe this. So what is happening over here is that if you zoom, you will find out. Question is, aside from the Apple remote, what other devices can control the Apple remote was originally designed to interact with, right? So standard is iPod. Okay. Second option, which is the standard. Okay. Second thing that comes up over here, with which you guys are kind of expected to understand, is that let's think step by step, which is detailed, and then iPhone, iPad, and iPad Touch. This is standard option with reason only. Next is act only. Search Apple Remote. Apple Remote is a remote control. Search front row. Search. So this act only. This is reason only. Here, put you are in the middle of the room looking quickly around. You see a cabinet 6, cabinet 1, coffee machine 1, and these things. Your task is to put some this in the drawer. So what are the things that you will do? Whereas over here, you will get react, which is reason and acting both. Okay, which is the most famous thing that's going on right now. And this is again react, reason plus acting. So there are four prompting methods standard, then COT is chain of thoughts, right? After that, there is reason only, the chain of thought, reason only, act, and then react. So take a minute to zoom into this, read it, and get a better idea and a better clarity about these 2 points or these two things. And now, after this is done, the next thing over here is that self-reflection is the capability of the model to access its own decision, right? And what are the areas of improvement? So all the models that are being deployed, advanced models, they have their own feedback mechanisms. So what is basically happening is that they have their own metrics and the response that a human being gives, depending on that, they try to update themselves. So this concept is particularly interesting at it as it allows models to improve autonomously through trial and error method. And it's good without solely relying on the human feedback. So take your time, go through this and read this much block as well. Now, after this is done, here is another diagram. You see this chain of thoughts method again. Now, after this is done, there is a language model. There is a greedy code. This means that 3 plus 4 is equal to 7 eggs every day. She sells the remainder for $2 per egg. So she sells uh, $14. Answer is 14. So if there are like that, there is 3 cars in the parking lot. 2 cars more arrive. How many cars are there? 5. So now you will basically give this to language model. There are diverse codes that are there, right? And then you are kind of getting to the answers over here, right? And now after this is done, the next part over here is this is something that you have to read. So you can see it ensembles multiple inputs, right? Then the retrieval augmented generation. So there are some advanced concepts over here for which this diagram should be clear. Take a minute for this. Take 1 more minute. Now, after this is done, I think this is a good point where we can wrap up our session. I wanted to complete some more topics today, but ensemble multiple attempts, retrieval augmented generation, right? Then there is question encoder, right? Then modular reasoning knowledge language, program aided language models, these then automatic prompt engineer, tree of thoughts, right? Automatic multi-step reasoning and tool use art. So I have given images for all of these things: active prompt, forward looking, retrieval, augmented generation, flare, right? So these things are basically something which are available over here. They are not in your coursework, right? But I've still added it because I thought that if you want to read the next things, they are quietly advanced. If you want, you can read it. And in the next session, we would be moving ahead with the live